Hi, this is James. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about future direction of this channel. I'm back after a long hiatus, and I just made a video on the Mora Gambit. Um, this is a little different from the first three videos I did, and I wanted to discuss some future directions for this channel, and hopefully, for those of you that are watching, hopefully you can get involved. So lately, I did a video with a recording on Lichess using a study, and I did uh, a presentation a little over an hour giving my views on the Mora as kind of an introduction, um, but also to describe my evolution from my time starting out as a kid and now as an adult player. Um, uh, I'd like to say just a little bit about myself. I'm a recent national master. I became national master last year after tying for first in the World Open in the under 2200 section. And this was a long dream of mine. Um, I had taken a long period away from chess during school, and I'd played occasionally, but I considered myself at that point mainly a casual player. Even though it was in 1900s, I reached this level as a kid. I started out at a chess club when I was in the fourth grade, and things really grew for me when I went to a summer chess camp between my sixth and seventh grade year that was taught by the late uh, Grandmaster Edmar Bednes, as well as local national masters Daniel Miller, Kyle Farrell, and Richard Benjamin. And I did this for 3 years, and I met a lot of players, uh, both young and old. And they inspired me to study the game more and to get involved more in tournaments. And I started playing in adult tournaments, and my interest just grew. Um, Unfortunately, uh, I felt I had to take time away from chess later, although it's been a long passion for me. But around when I was soon before I became 30, I made a resolve to make a return to tournament chess and break a long barrier of mine uh, that that was the 2000 to become an expert. And I did that, and I reached my goal, and then I went on to go back to graduate school. And in the process, I actually broke 2100 as well. Um, it's just, once I got back into it, kind of grew with me. And later, um, eventually I decided to go for National Master, and it's where I am today. For me, chess is not a linear process at all. Um, there are many success and failures, and you sometimes improve in spurts, or you have these flashes of insight after working at something for many hours. Um, so a lot of times in books you see a repertoire, and everything's very neatly arranged. But to really understand how the author reaches conclusions, the process is often very messy, and you often don't get a lot of insight to that. So I wanted to have an introduction that was different from a lot of repertoire videos and books, and talk about my evolution and what led me to where I am today. Um, because a lot of times you understand the choices of your moves through looking at the alternatives and seeing the ideas from both sides of the board. And really, this is how strong players approach the opening. It's very messy and it's not easy to do, but it's a very demanding process, but a rewarding one as well. And you get stronger by analyzing your own ideas and testing them, and looking vigorously for your opponent's resources as well. So the Mora was kind of an enemy as as a kid, and a very frustrating one because I took chess study very seriously. um, I didn't get to play in many tournaments. So when I encountered this opening and I got in a passive position when I wanted to be active playing something like the Dragon, I could say it was very frustrating. And even when I was a Class C player facing a master, it was painful to have a loss in the Mora where I was just defending passively because that's not the game I wanted to have. And um, it's been a resolve of mine to find a good antidote to it. Um, so there's simple ways of handling things and there are hard ways of handling things, and I have to do things the hard way. Um, but with this, a lot of times you become stronger in chess in overcoming adversity, and um, by taking a weakness of yours and turning it into a strength, that can be a very rewarding process and a transformative one. That's always something I've aimed to do. I never stay in one place, like with my openings. I'm always changing them. Um, when I go through a new period and I feel inspired, I look in new directions that can help apply my old experiences, but and infuse a new life into my play. So, um, for me, chess is an exciting journey, and I wanted to reflect that in my presentation. So, uh, what I'm planning to do is maybe continue and go into more detail to show how I study an opening and uh, and how I try to examine the character of how play may develop and do my own opening research. And I plan to delve deeper into some of the lines I mentioned about the Mora, especially my top recommendation. I'm thinking about my next video to perhaps explore one of the critical main lines where white sacrifices a piece. Um, I don't plan to have as long a video as my first one. Um, I thought that though had some relevance in establishing a framework. And I think I'll try to break things into smaller parts, yet try to keep some continuity. Um, and I wanted to make this video because a number of my students play the Sicilian and they've had difficulty facing the Mora. And it was something I had difficulty facing myself. So in a way, I'm making a presentation I would have liked to see when I was a kid. And I'm considering the idea of perhaps going into several anti-Sicilians. Um, like, okay, besides the Smith Mora, in which perhaps my next presentation will be around the following critical line. Um, okay, so this line that Salgado recommended with b5, bishop b7. Okay, this is like a standard tabia that we'll be looking at this variation, and I'll examine some more detailed analysis on this piece sacrifice, and maybe even look at it a bit earlier to compare um, why this version is weaker. And a lot of times you understand an opening by looking at how potential deviations work and ideas for your opponent that they may look for over the board. So uh, I thought that was a future direction. I was just kind of explaining where I was coming from, what my top recommendations were, and future directions. So this is one of the most dangerous anti-Sicilians, in my opinion, at amateur level, and I kind of view it as the schoolyard bully of chess openings. If you think of title players as like teachers in a school, they may say, "Well, you're above that. Don't mess with the bully." There are certain times when they push you around and you have to fight back. So what I'm going to do is show you how to fight back, and you can think of these as your brass knuckles. So um, I think this is fun, and I like turning things around because the way I see this is kind of a affront to our whole concept in the Sicilian, um, where White is just assuming that he can take the initiative through simple moves. against our sound structure, and we aim to show him that chess is not so simple, and there's another side to debate. So that's kind of my philosophy here. Um, there's some moments where I think it is suitable to fight fire with fire, and you become stronger in the process when you develop your defensive skills. Some future directions I'm considering here are a few other annoying anti-Sicilians, like the Moscow variation. Um, I played the D6 mover as a dragon player, but lately I've been learning the Najdorf. Actually, that's the opening I chose last year to reach national master, and that was quite ambitious. Um, Even possibly C3. This comes up a lot, but I personally I find Bishop B5 to be a bit more annoying, um, and perhaps maybe something like the Grand Prix attack as well. Um, this is especially important, like for Night players, because um, they they normally don't want to play Knight C6. As a Dragon player, this isn't so much an issue though, but as a Najdorf player, I think it's best to play D6, although A6 is interesting. Um, so maybe a few things about this. And because there's some things about the Grand Prix attack that become a bit sharper now that you're committed to d6, and I think Black can still play for advantage after the Bishop c4 lines, but you need to. So this is another anti-Sicilian, kind of in a similar vein as the Smith-Morra, where I think it pays to do your homework and really examine a lot of the suboptimal continuations that white can try to trick you. And by learning this, you increase your defensive skills in your handling of the Sicilian. So I felt like this was a natural place to start because a lot of these lines bugged me. Oh, and one of the last ones that was a real pain was the C3 Sicilian. And lately, I'm a lot more comfortable facing it, and maybe I can share some ideas as well with that. Um, of course, there are other openings, maybe future directions. Maybe I might even go into some defenses against d4. Um, Maybe even sidelines like the London or the Trumpovsky, because there's some interesting things I found there as well, and those can be some problem openings, even the collie. So those are some ideas I have in terms of opening presentations that are theoretical. Maybe I'll get back into streaming, but openings are, I think, one of my biggest strengths in terms of analysis and preparation, and that's something where I can really share my experience and how I turned weaknesses in my repertoire to strengths. And I'd like to share that process with you of discovery. And I often don't just approach things from a single defense. I might often compare or give you more than one option because it's important to be flexible, I think, and see many different types of positions to refine your evaluation. And also, it's also nice to have variety too, because you often learn more chess that way. So those are some future projects I'm considering, and I'm planning to take advantage of the study feature on Lichess. I like the open nature of it and that it can involve interaction with my viewers. So if you want to get involved with that, just let me know, and you can leave a comment, and we'll see where it goes from there. Okay, well, see you around. Hopefully in another video.